Welcome forward with Jesus' Course in Miracles. This is Chapter 5, The Healing and Wholeness, page 44. The Holy Spirit can deal with an unwilling learner without going counter to its will, because part of His will is still for God. Despite the ego's attempt to conceal this part, it is still much stronger than the ego, even though the ego does not recognize it. The Holy Spirit recognizes it perfectly because it is His own dwelling place, or the place in His mind where He is at home. You are at home there too, because it is a place of peace, and peace is of God. You who are part of God are not at home except in His peace. If peace is eternal, you are at home only in eternity. The ego made the world as it perceives it, but the Holy Spirit, the reinterpreter of what the ego made, sees it only as a teaching device for bringing you home. The Holy Spirit must perceive time and reinterpret it into the timeless. The mind must be led into eternity through time, because having made time, it is capable of perceiving its opposite. The Holy Spirit must work through opposites because He must work with and for a mind that is in opposition. Correct and learn, and be open to learning. You have not made truth, but truth can still set you free. Look at the Holy Spirit looks and understand as He understands. His understanding looks back to God in remembrance of me. He is the Holy Communion always, and He is part of you. He is your guide to salvation because He holds the remembrance of things past to come. He holds this gladness gently in your minds, asking only that you increase in it, in His name, by sharing it to increase His joy in you. Therapy and teaching. You must have noticed how often I have used your own ideas to help you. You have learned to be a loving, wise, and very understanding therapist, except for yourself. That exception has given you more than perception for others because of what you saw in them, but less than knowledge of your real relationship to them, because you did not accept them as a part of you. Understanding is beyond perception because it introduces meaning. It is, however, below knowledge, even though it can grow towards it. It is possible with great effort to understand someone else to some extent and to be quite helpful towards him. But the effort is misdirected. The misdirection is quite apparent. It is directed away from you. This does not mean that it is lost to you, but it does mean that you are not aware of it. I have saved all your kindness, and even every loving thought you have had. I have purified them of the errors of which you had hid their light, and you have kept them for you in your own perfect radiance. They are beyond destruction and beyond guilt. They came from the Holy Spirit within you, and we know what God created or creates is eternal. What fear has hidden still is a part of you. Joining the atonement, which I have repeatedly asked you to do, is always a way out of fear. This does not mean that you can safely fail to acknowledge anything that is true. However, the Holy Spirit will not fail to help you reinterpret everything that you perceived as fearful and teach you that only what is love is true. Truth is beyond your ability to destroy, but entirely within your grasp. It belongs to you because you created it. It is yours because it is a part of you, just as you are a part of God because He created you. The atonement is the guarantee of the safety of the kingdom. Nothing good is lost because it comes from the Holy Spirit, the voice of creation. Nothing that is not good has Nothing that is not good was ever created, and therefore cannot be protected. The ego makes it keeps its to wait. The ego makes it keeps to itself, and so it is without strength. Its unshared existence does not die. It was merely never born. Real birth is not a beginning. It is a continuing. Everything that can continue has been born, but it can increase as you are willing to return the part of your mind that needs healing to the higher part, and thus render your creating mind, or your creating undivided. As a therapist, you yourself tell your patients the real difference between neurotic and healthy guilt feelings is that neurotic guilt feelings do not help anyone. This distinction is wise, though incomplete. Let us make the distinction a little sharper now. Neurotic guilt feelings are a device of the ego for atoning without sharing, and for asking pardon without change. The ego never calls for real atonement and cannot tolerate forgiveness, which is change. Your concept of healthy guilt feelings as merit, but without the concept of the atonement, it lacks the healing potential it holds. You made the distinction in terms of feeling, which led to a decision not to repeat the error, which is only part of the healing. Your concept lacked the idea of undoing it. What you are really advocating then was adopting a policy of sharing without a real foundation. I have come to give you the foundation, so your own thoughts can make you really free. You have carried the burden of the ideas you did not share, and which were therefore too weak to increase, but you did not recognize how to undo their existence because you had made them. You cannot cancel out your past errors alone. They will not disappear from your mind without remedy. The remedy is not of your making any more than you are. The atonement cannot be understood except as a pure act of sharing. That is what is meant when we said it is possible, even in this world, to listen to one voice. If you are a part of God and the sonship is one, you cannot be limited by the self the ego sees. Every loving thought held in any part of the sonship belongs to every part. It is shared because it is loving. Sharing is God's way of creating, and also yours. Your ego can keep you in exile from the kingdom, but in the kingdom itself it has no power. Thus ends page 44.